And shifting from our gentlemen to our ladies, kicking off our individual female competition here at the Atlantic Regional. You watched it twice thus far, triple three, nothing changing. 3,000 meters on the rower, followed by 300 double unders, closing it out with 3 miles on the assault runner. Let's go down the line and introduce our athletes out on the floor, starting down in lane at number 1 from Maverick CrossFit, Julia Glotz. In lane number 2 from CrossFit Palm Beach, Whitney Stevenson. In lane number 3 from CrossFit Lorton, Gretchen Lee. In lane number 4 from CrossFit 30004, Elizabeth Bradley. In lane number 5 from College Hill CrossFit, Haley Adams. In lane number 6, representing CrossFit Ridge Ab, Megan O'Donnell. In lane number 7, hailing from CrossFit Diamond State, Jamie Byerly. In lane number 8, from CrossFit Explode, Paige Henry. In lane number 9, from Stroud CrossFit, Bailey Garrett. In lane number 10, from CrossFit Stacked, Stevie Dellinger. In lane number 11, hailing from CrossFit 32034, Erin Carter. In lane number 12, making the trip from CrossFit Rizzo, let's hear it for Kaitlin Isaacs. In lane number 13, from CrossFit Passion, Kalarina Natori. In lane number 14, representing CrossFit Delray Beach, Myra Brandt. In lane number 15, from CrossFit West Chase, Kim DeCray. In lane 16, hailing from Brick House CrossFit, Chastity Martin. In lane 17, from CrossFit Raw, Brianna Gongloff. In lane number 18, from CrossFit Lakeland, Jordan Christie. In lane number 19, from CrossFit Maximum Dosage, Nikita Dix. And rounding out your heat number 1 of 2 heats of individual ladies on triple three, from CrossFit 1401, Monique Williams. So our athletes getting after that row. It looks like many of them threw their first 1,000. As we look down for our leaders. Looks like most of them rowing just above a 2-minute per 500-meter pace, but not the case in lane 13. Kalarina Natori rowing about a 1:54. She's coming up on 1,300 meters down. So if I'm not mistaken, she is your leader on the rower, at least to this point. Plenty more to go as we pass the 5-minute mark. Another athlete rowing something fiercely. Number 6, Megan O'Donnell, pulling a 1:51 pace. She's nearing the midway point, just at about 1,600 meters remaining in lane number 6. Lane number 2, Whitney Stevenson, just at about that midway point, making her second appearance as an individual regionals. Finished 24th in 2017, looking to improve upon that in 2018. Megan O'Donnell, who appears to be your leader on the rower, also making her second individual appearance, finishing 30th in 2017. She's coming up on just 1,300 meters remaining. The other athletes to watch is here in lane 13. At about 1,100 meters to go, Tory from CrossFit Passion, on team in 2017, making her individual debut. As she gets closer and closer to the double unders. So for our top athletes, they're just about 2/3 of the way through as they near that 1,000 meter remaining mark. Lane 15, Kimberly DeCray, CrossFit West Chase's very own, with just about less than 1,000 meters to go. Kim competing twice on Team West Chase for electing to go individual this year. She could very well be the first athlete in the heat on to the double unders. But it's not a race to the dubs. It's a race through the entirety of this triplet: row, dubs, and run. We haven't seen this one won on the row or on the dubs, but we have seen it lost. So as they continue to row their race, I'm sure we're gonna see a hand up in the air here soon. Again, that hand up from the judge will signal the final 250 meters. .650 meters to go in lane number 6, Megan O'Donnell. Still keeping a pace just below 2 minutes for every 500 meters. So that event record through 2 weeks of competition, folks, 40 minutes and 15 seconds for individual female competitors. Look to see if that'll stand through the Atlantic Regional as we near that 10-minute mark. An event record occupied by Gabriella Magala from Europe. She got off the rower at 11 minutes and 37 seconds, so we're knocking on the door from that time. So again, folks, next up are the 300 double unders. Athletes are going to advance every 100 reps. 3 distinct boxes there. As we got our first hand up in the air, folks. 2 hands, make it 3 hands now. Kaitlin Tory, her judge's hand, the first one up, down in lane 13. Who is going to be first to the dubs, as now hands are up all over the place. Not a ton of separation from first to last. And it looks like we now know who your leader is. Lane 13, Kaitlin Tory. Gonna head to her robe, but not far off is in lane number 6, Megan O'Donnell, and in lane number 8, Paige Henry. They're gonna be your 1, 2, and 3 onto the double unders. So Paige Henry split the difference between the other 2 athletes in contention. Finished 27th in 2017, making her 3rd individual appearance. As now more join the party. The double under party, that is. So again, folks, look for them to advance forward through their first 100 repetitions. Looks like both Paige Henry and Kaitlin Tory through 100 reps, as is the case for Megan O'Donnell. So they're gonna stay your 1, 2, and 3 early on here, but they've got some company now. Lane number 2, Whitney Stevenson, and lane number 7, Jamie Byerly. Jamie, lane number 7. Making a return to individual competition here at regionals. Her last appearance back in 2015, finishing 20th. Remember, one more box. They're advancing forward every 100. So who's going to move on up to that 3rd and final box first? Many of them now, and it's going to be Whitney Stevenson pulling ahead of the pack. Lane number 2, blue sports bra. Next is going to be lane number 7, Jamie, the blue pants. So this one is up for grabs. As we now pass the 15-minute mark, 49-minute cap Only one athlete caught in our male division. Hopefully none of these athletes needed, as we will see who is on the assault runner first. Anybody's guess who it's gonna be? It's gonna be a Whitney Stevenson, who, check it out, is only 5 seconds off of the event record split onto that runner. So Gabriella Magala got on at 15:15. Whitney Stevenson got on at about 15:20. But she's gonna have some company on the runner, folks. Brierley, and now Carter. That is Aaron Carter moving on to the final movement of this test. Haley Adams jumping on, as will O'Donnell. So a difference of less than a minute between first and your top 7, make it 8, getting on to the runner. So your leader onto the runner again, none other than in lane number 2, Whitney Stevenson. Looking to set the bar, set the pace for not just this heat, but your second heat still to come of your top 20 ladies for the Reebok CrossFit Games Open in the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast region. So we'll look to see is now that advancement of the chest piece just indicates they're working towards their first 400 meters. Whitney Stevenson, 400 meters in and counting. She'll remain your leader. Jamie Brierley at a not too distant second. So your 2 leaders with their markers ahead of the rest of the pack. Veteran regional competitors making their sophomore appearances. In a field of largely individual rookies. 11 athletes here in heat number 1 making their individual debuts. Looking to make a splash here at the Atlantic Regional as O'Donnell, Carter, and Adams now draw even with their chest piece. And I'll tell you, if there is an athlete to watch, it is lane number 5, Haley Adams, with a listed 5K time of just over 20 minutes on her CrossFit Games page. Loves to run, that is for sure, and finished 14th here in the Atlantic Regional last year. Not to mention, she is a 2-time silver medalist in the team division at the Reebok CrossFit Games. So it has been Stevenson to this point. We'll see if that stays true as we look for that next chest piece advancement. Stevenson back with the lead. Still hanging on through 800 over 3 miles. Brierley also now drawing even closer to Stevenson. Chest piece advanced less than 10 seconds apart from Stevenson. So excuse me, through the first 2 weeks, that event record was 40:15. It was set in the Meridian not too long ago, 39 minutes and 25 seconds, so a blazing fast time for Jess Dahl. As O'Donnell sitting in third, Haley Adams now in fourth, hot on the heels of O'Donnell. So Dellinger and Henry now moving in to fifth and sixth respectively. But the races thus far in the early stages of the run between Stevenson and Brierley. Bradley now moving on up. As will Tory and Martin down the way. But check that out, a little lead change, folks. Jamie Brierley now your leader. Lane number 7, multicolor sports bra, blue pants. She's gonna have about a 10-second advantage, so virtually switching places through that 400 between Brierley and Stevenson. And look at the difference in demeanor. You just look down the line at your 20 athletes. Some of them looking cool, calm, and collected. Others may be laboring away a little bit through their first mile. As O'Donnell stays in third, Adams fourth. Those two certainly looking as cool as the other side of the pillow. So look for them to maintain the pace as they will remain your 1 through 4. Looking to see who is going to emerge in 5th place. So it seems to be those 4th and everybody else. Until now, the 3-time regionals competitor, Paige Henry, moving into that 5th place spot. So I mentioned it with your gentlemen, but it is very difficult to know if the pace you're going at is enough to beat the rest of the pack. Again, you're not running on a road, you're not running on a track to see the true distance you have between others, as Stevenson apparently pulls back into the lead. So a little cat and mouse game between Brierley and Stevenson. Not sure what changed in their pace there, as it looks like Brierley now gonna move on up, but a swapping of roles through that 400, as they're now through their first mile. So it's the same 1 and 2, albeit they swap places. 3rd remains to be seen here. Now through 25 minutes, and it's gonna be a dead heat between Adams and O'Donnell for that third place position. So the same 1 through 4, albeit a little bit of jockeying on this run. So they're up on the Jumbotron as the race for third, Adams and O'Donnell. Haley Adams, the 17-year-old, finishing 14th in 2017. Megan O'Donnell finishing 30th at regionals in 2017. And appears to be in a good position to start the weekend off in a better position than 30th, as Henry remains in that 5th place, but it'll be Stevenson advancing forward again. So she still has the lead. That was at about 26:15. Let's see just how big that lead is over Brierley or O'Donnell and Adams. So that lead appears to be growing. Just under 30-second advantage for Stevenson over Brierley. So now the next question, that race for third between Adams and O'Donnell. We'll see whose chess piece gets moved up first. They were literally knotted up as their judges ran to advance their pieces at the same time. And it is gonna be O'Donnell slightly over Adams. So goes your top 4, then Paige Henry, then a slew, about 11 other female athletes, all working towards their first 2,000 meters. That means they're over the 1 mile mark in this 3-mile race on the assault runner. Already through 3,000 meters on the rower, already through 300 double unders, and now nearly a third of the way through the 3-mile run. And Stevenson's chess piece once again advanced forward. So at about the 28:20 mark, the lead was just about 30 seconds, slightly under that. Over Brierley. And Whitney Stevenson has extended that lead by about 10 seconds or so. So Stevenson's picking up the pace and hanging on. And I don't know if Brierley's so much as slowing down. She seems to be going at the same pace, or if Whitney Stevenson is just speeding up. She's getting faster as this event is unfolding by the looks of it. She's now more than halfway through the 3-mile run. And O'Donnell now emerging in a clear third. Adams will remain in fourth. So with their chess pieces in that position, that indicates they're now halfway through their run. And that monitor you're looking at on the Jumbotron is none other than lane number 2, your leader, Whitney Stevenson's monitor. Not sure how much you can see, but I just know that her judge motioned once again for another advancement. She is 2,800 plus meters in. Paige Henry still hanging on to 5th. Don't count out Dellinger. Nor Martin. Both now in 6th and 7th respectively. Chastity Martin of Brickhouse CrossFit. Last individual appearance back in 2014 where she finished 17th overall. So taking a few years off from individual competition, is back at it again. O'Donnell in 3rd, Adams still in 4th. Myra Brand's piece also being moved forward. Lane 14 took 5th place in 2017 at the Reebok CrossFit Games in the Masters 35 to 39 division. We're gonna take her crack in individual competition, but it's Stevenson still with the lead. I don't see that changing anytime soon. She's into what is now her final mile of running. So 2+ miles in for your leader, Whitney Stevenson. And up there on the Jumbotron, we've caught every which angle of your leader running, as she will more than likely set that time to beat, unless the other 3 chess pieces you see just a row behind. Lane number 5, Haley Adams. Lane number 6, Megan O'Donnell. Or lane number 7, Jamie Byerly, can somehow catch Whitney, who is running away figuratively and literally with this heat number 1 of event 1 here on the weekend. Byerly moving on up in line with Stevenson. And cheers from the crowd as more chess pieces advance. O'Donnell and Adams. O'Donnell has held on to 3rd. Adams is staying just a few seconds behind. Again, those 4 athletes in their final mile. .1,200 meters to go for Stevenson. Right here in her hometown. CrossFit Palm Beach's very own. Looking to make them proud with a 1st place finish on 333. Again, still another heat of 20 female athletes here at the Atlantic Regional still to come. So whatever time she sets will be that time to beat. You're seeing some of those facial expressions change a bit. Some of them showing the pain on their faces a little bit more as they leg it out for what is to be potentially their last mile. Brierley and Stevenson remain your 1 and 2. O'Donnell and Adams, your 3 and 4. Henry still in 5th. So it's been a consistent top 5 to this point. Dellinger, though, covering some ground there on Paige Henry. And some loud individual cheers there for Whitney Stevenson. And I guess a group cheer as O'Donnell stays in 3rd with that advancement. Adams in 4th. And another advancement, final 800 meters for Whitney Stevenson. So I made that correction, 39:25, that event record time. Right at about 2 minutes from that. I'll tell you what, Whitney is knocking on the door. So even if not an event record, it is gonna be a very impressive time. We're gonna set the bar for the coming heat. Who needs an air horn? When you got a voice like that cheering on your athletes, that is what I'm talking about here at the Atlantic Regional. Why don't you guys be more like him? Make some noise for your athletes. What do you say? Brierley advancing forward as well. She's in her last 800 meters. What about that race for 3rd? O'Donnell and Adams. Are they gonna stay in the same 3-4 and now Henry 5, or will we see a shakeup? And with what remains of this last mile? And with that chest piece advancement, ladies and gentlemen, Whitney Stevenson, 400 meters to go. As the race between O'Donnell and Adams just got slightly more interesting. As they both advance, it is very clearly Stevenson 1, 2, Brierley, and the race for 3rd between Adams and O'Donnell. So it's not a matter of if for Whitney Stevenson, it's a matter of when. What time is she going to put up on the board? Your lone competitor in her last 400 meters, her last lap around the track, waiting for her judge's hand to go up in the air to signal the last 160 meters. And there it is, folks. As we eclipse the 40-minute mark, this is it. What is that time gonna look like? As Brierley's chest piece advances, 400 meters to go for her. But all eyes on lane number 2. CrossFit Palm Beach's finest. Very few to go. Stayed consistent and held on to the lead from the get. And with her last few meters, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Whitney Stevenson! So 1 down, 19 to go. As her time is right up there on the Jumbotron, folks, 40:49. As we look for Brierley, O'Donnell, and Adams to come next. As O'Donnell maintains her lead for third over Adams. Just 400 meters remaining, though. Their steps almost in sync as we get closer and closer to that 49-minute time cap, but a judge's hand up in the air, blue pants, multicolor sports bra, lane number 7. Jamie Brierley of CrossFit Diamond State nearing that finish line. Does not want to give up that position and knows there are 20 more athletes still to come. And that's the final step other than these across that finish line. Ladies and gentlemen, Jamie Brierley. 42:23 for second. It looks like next, O'Donnell and Adams, but a hand is up for O'Donnell, now for Adams as well. Last 160. It looks like O'Donnell battling a cramp. She just wants to get through it. She's grabbing her stomach with not much more to go. But Adams is picking up the pace. Which of these two athletes is it gonna be? O'Donnell or Adams? And the race for third has stayed true through the entirety of the heat. And it looks like a come from behind third place finish for Haley Adams. Next across the line, Megan O'Donnell. So 4 athletes down. Paige Henry, who has stayed consistently in 5th, has made some facial expressions like she is hurting, but she is just about done. Again, less than a quarter of a mile to go. Dellinger and Tory, as well as in lane number 3, Gretchen Lee of CrossFit Lorton, also in contention to be your next finisher. Again, this is the race for 5th with less than 5 minutes remaining. And Paige Henry's judge, hand up in the air, last 160 meters. So it looks like with no other hands up, 5th is hers for the taking. Paige Henry. Under 100 meters to go. We're gonna see her pop off of that runner here in no time. And here she comes, ladies and gentlemen. Make some noise for the CrossFit Explode athlete, Paige Henry. Time is running out, folks. We are down to the last 3.5 minutes As we've got another hand up in the air, lane number 10, Stevie Dellinger. Heard some chants for Stevie out there in the crowd. Will she be the next finisher? It could also be between lanes 3 and 4, Gretchen Lee and Elizabeth Bradley. Actually, I see 6 hands up in the air. So we could have a tight finish for 6th place. And it is gonna be Stevie Dellinger next. Right at about the 46:07 mark. And that is gonna be Tory, legging it out, knocking over that chest piece, and a job well done on event number 1. And now a foot race between Gretchen Lee and Elizabeth Bradley. It's gonna be Gretchen Lee just edging out Bradley, which leaves us with 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go. As our next athlete crossing the line, that is none other than Chastity Martin, followed by Myra Brandt. Down the way, Monique Williams, sprinting almost into the barricade. Whoa, literally knocked over the barricade over there. Wanting to finish up so strong. With less than 2 minutes to go now, we have 8 athletes still out on the floor. And it looks like our next finisher, CrossFit West Chase's very own, Kim DeCray. We've got 90 seconds remaining. Can we give him a boost, folks? Come on, West Palm Beach. 48 minutes of work, not to mention over 20 minutes of running on an assault runner. I am sure they are physically and mentally taxed. They want to make an impression on event number 1. 4 athletes in position within their last 400 meters. We're down to 40 seconds. The judge for Nikita Dix and Jordan Christie. Hand up in the air, it's gonna be Nikita Dix sprinting down the line. And next it is gonna be Aaron Carter wrapping it up. We've got 20 seconds as Jordan Christie gets it done beneath the cap. 10 seconds. As we will get ready to count it down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
1 minute.
20 women in the second and final heat, including the athletes who come into this regional, ranked towards the top of the overall standings. And the woman who won the Open, Cassidy Lance McWhirter, will be in lane number 11.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Second and final heat is underway. The time to beat was just put up in the first heat by Whitney Stevenson. 40 minutes, 49 seconds, pardon me. It is the 4th best time we have seen in this event out of any regional in the world.
And she had pressure on her from that first heat, so I am really excited to see what these ladies do here. They're gonna have to do 2 things. My keys for the event here is, though, go your pace. Even though it's a race at the end, you have to go your pace in each portion of this event, especially here on the rower. You can't get ahead of yourself. And then once you get to the assault runner, it's all about starting smart, getting yourself dialed in, and just kind of keeping your pace, and then finish fast at the end. That's what we've seen that works for the best.
Emily Bridgers making her 8th regionals appearance. She has said that this will be her last year competing as an individual.
Her best finish at the CrossFit Games was her rookie season when she took 6th place back in 2014. She has always been right there in the mix, but for her last year, when you know that this is it, I expect to see a lot of heart out of Emily Bridgers and just a lot of confidence. I talked to her yesterday. She said she has just been competing her entire life, and she's just done with it. And so there's a lot of mixed emotions, but I'm really excited to see what she does. She has so many fans and so many people that love to watch her.
A lot of eyes on this woman. Cassidy Lance McWhirter won the World Wide Open, making her 6th regionals appearance, trying to top her 2014 Games appearance when she finished 8th.
8th then, but last year she was 12th. But more impressive than the number, Sean, was her attitude and her presence that she brought to the competitive floor last year at the Games was none like we've seen for Cassidy. And then making a statement this year of finishing 1st in the Worldwide Open. I am so excited to see what we saw at the Games last year just carry on into this season.
Let's talk. I was going to say, let's talk rowing here really fast because we're going to spend a lot of time right here for the next few minutes. When you look at someone who's rowing, what things tell you that a person is doing well as opposed to someone who's wasting energy?
There's a lot of efficiency type things, elements to rowing. Actually, all 3 of these elements, but to the rowing specifically, we want to see the big drivers first. Now, yes, you're going to be using your legs for the majority of this event, but you use your big hips to drive that cable back. I think if you use your back a little bit more to kind of give your legs a little bit of a rest, that's going to be huge. What we want to see, though, is that these ladies aren't going up on their toes, and I think as across the board, we aren't seeing that for the most part. They're really pulling hard with their arms, but you see, what I really like to see is the rest that they're taking. So there's a nice big pull, and that recovery coming in. They're using that recovery. I think the majority of the time when athletes are having rows in a workout, in a training situation, they're going for speed and super hard number of calories. These guys just have to fall into a nice pace and just cruise.
Well, that's what's so hard to do. You know, it's 3, 2, 1, go, and then manage the pacing. And the best athletes know how to do that, but it is really hard to do, especially for that long. These ladies are going to be on the rower for 12 minutes. It's hard not to kind of get all antsy and start looking at other people's monitors. Right, to keep that and maintain that composure.
Right now, all these women are chasing Whitney Stevenson, who put up the fastest time in the first heat, 40 minutes, 49 seconds, and she is with Amanda Krenz.
Whitney, so far you had the 4th best time in regional competition for this particular event. You said you're a very strategic athlete, so what was your plan for this one?
Just kind of staying in my own lane the entire time. It's a long workout. You can kind of get caught up in the row a little bit too early, so I just wanted to keep on my pace. And then they call those pieces chess pieces. I feel like it is kind of a mental game of chess, like who's pulling ahead of who, and I didn't want to get caught up in the game. I just wanted to stick to my own plan. So as soon as I got on the runner, I knew what pace I needed to be at. And I just kind of stuck to it, and I had like my own little strategy as the miles went on, how to increase my speed and not really get caught up on whose chess piece was moving before whose, and just kind of focus on what I was doing.
How confident were you coming into this particular event?
Oh, I mean, I feel like confidence is such a loose word for me, but I knew what I needed to do, so I just stuck with it.
Good job out there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Whitney Stevenson, 40 minutes, 49 seconds, the current time to beat as we are about a third of the way through this 3,000-meter row. Cassidy Lance McWhirter cranking away as she looks to complete that 3,000-meter row and move on to the 300 double unders.
Stevenson just was telling Amanda about staying in your lane. It's something we hear a lot about events at the regional level, at games level, just stay in your lane. But what that really means in this event is so different because you can take each element of this event and really know your pacing and know yourself that there's no reason to not know where you should be versus the clock, and you really don't have to race against anything else except yourself until the final maybe 400 meters of the run, because if you don't go properly paced this whole thing, you really could damage yourself if you don't have the lung capacity to stay at that speed.
Cassidy Lance McWhirter continuing to work on that 3,000-meter row. Mckenzie Riley is in lane number 10, right next to Cassidy Lance McWhirter. Former teams athlete, had some success with the CrossFit Games as Mckenzie Riley as we continue to look at Cassidy Lance McWhirter. And that is Mckenzie Riley. Went to the games as an individual last year. Also went as a member of OC3 Black in 2016. That team finished in 5th place overall at the games.
So seeing her as an individual now on this side of competition is very different. After last year's games experience, she's going to come in much more confident, and we're already seeing that with her Worldwide Open finish of 11th. Very impressive among the ladies that are there on the women's side in the Open. I'm really anxious to see what she does here this weekend.
You can't discount experience. You can't discount going to the big stage, whether it's on the team division or the Open division, and having that level of experience, having that pressure on you and then being able to perform. You can come in here and actually perform confidently and relax, other than being like, oh my gosh, that's a big name over there and a big name to the left of me, to the right of me. She's just going in and hammering now.
Well, that's just it. All the pressure's on her, and it just takes a little bit of getting used to once you come from the team side of that pressure being shared. Now it's all you, and all the responsibilities on you. You're in control of your destination there.
Mckenzie Riley working on the first part of this 3-part event, the 3,000-meter row. Up next, the jump rope and those 300 double unders, and then we cap it off with a 3-mile run on the air runner.
So this event first was at the games in 2014, much different. You know, CrossFit level of competition has just exploded exponentially. The athletes have gotten better. So in 2014, that was a lot of double unders. It was a long row for a competition, a long run, putting them together. This was just such an endurance event. It still is, but those double unders just aren't like they used to be. They're not that taxing. The athletes really have gotten very comfortable and efficient with their double under speed and their efficiency.
Sara Scholl in the white top. Next to her is Shelby Neal. Scholl making her 8th regionals appearance. It's still looking for her first individual appearance at the CrossFit Games. She was at the Games last year in the 35 to 39-year-old division, where she just missed the podium. She finished 4th overall.
And look how fast she's moving. Now, she's a taller athlete. She's got a lot of power in those legs, and the tempo that she's moving is, I mean, that's way more than what I would be looking, to drive through.
Here's the thing, though, with Sara Scholl. I remember competing alongside of her back in 2008. She's been around forever. She is the endurance athlete, though, and that's where it catches her in other events. Her timing and her speed aren't always there, but in endurance events, that's where she really excels.
Well, and I think she saw this event come up. She's going to use this as momentum for the rest of the weekend. As an athlete, momentum plays such a huge mental game for you. So if you can get yourself one up, then that's going to help coach you through those events that may not be the best ones for you. I know she was excited when she saw this one come out of the pocket.
The other thing for Sara is that she already qualified in the Masters division for the 35 to 39 division, so she'll be just fine. She knows she's going to the game no matter what.
Right.
Approaching the 9-minute mark on this 3,000-meter row. That's Caroline Dardini in lane number 9. Still looking for her first individual appearance at the CrossFit Games.
She's done exceptionally well here at the regional level. The past 3 years, she's been top 10, just hasn't been able to make it to the games. Last year, just out of qualifying position in 6th place. So really pulling for Caroline. She's always been just right there. I'd love to see her just make it and see what she can do.
Whitney Gallin in lane 2 has just 600 meters remaining on her row. 2-time Games competitor. Last year finished 26th. She's looking to get off the rower first here.
Wicklin, one of the bigger athletes on the female side, she needs to do well in this event because the gymnastics event tomorrow and some of the other ones don't bode as well for her. So she's kind of that athlete that's not completely well-rounded yet. So she has those holes in her game and really does need to capitalize. Use her height here to her advantage to get a little bit of extra time.
Well, you saw her split that she had. I mean, a 156, 157, that's a heavy, heavy split. But she's able to handle that. She's got the experience. She knows what she can do. But she also has the power and the size to be able to drive that and have it not affect her a whole lot.
On the left is Lindsay Eater. On the right is Melissa Dahl. They are right behind Whitney Gallin here on this 3,000-meter row, but there is still plenty of work left. The jump rope awaits, 300 double unders, and then that final 3-mile run on the assault runner.
I mean, yes, we are in the middle of the race, but it really hasn't started yet. We have to get through these first 2 pieces and get onto that runner. Then the race really begins. So it's Who is setting themselves up right for that position?
Well, and that's just it on the rower. When you have women that are 5'1", and then you have some of these ladies like Melissa Dahl, 5'9", there's such a height discrepancy that there is that little bit of an advantage, and they need to capitalize on that there because it's the only place you really can.
About 5 judges have their hands in the air. There are 2 of them. In lane 17, that's Danny Spiegel, a rookie making her first appearance in the regionals, trying to keep pace with the leaders here on this 3,000-meter row. But Whitney Galen's judge's hand is in the air. Dahl and Eater's judges have their hands in the air. So now this first part of the triple threes is coming to a close for many of the athletes. Sara Scholl on the left of your screen. Her judge's hand is in the air. And then Megan Root on the left side. Her twin sister Meredith competed last week in the West and lost her spot on the final event.
Heartbreaking event for Meredith in the West Regional.
Melissa Dahl, Whitney Galen, and Danny Spiegel are all walking to the double unders. Dahl gets to work first, followed by Galen in the red. And then Spiegel is on the far end of the floor, and here comes Lindsay Eater. And now Sara Scholl.
You know, we were talking about efficiency on the row, Sean, earlier. There's efficiencies on the double under just as well. You can be, it's so easy. These athletes can all do the high number, but it's what technically are you doing? You can see a lot of things. We saw ropes getting tangled. I mean, look at the hands on the left there in the green tank top. The wrists are all cockeyed, the arms are straight. Like, that's a lot of wasted energy, not resting where you need to be.
And that's what happened. Spiegel actually hit Melissa Dahl when she first came up. So the lanes are tight. You can't afford to have your arms way out far. Plus, it taxes your shoulders. It's just more fatiguing.
Dahl and Eater got tangled up there, and Eater, you'll see it right here. Eater's on the left, and then watch the ropes. They collide, and then she apologizes. But the judges addressed this yesterday in the briefing and said, if you are not where you need to be in your lane, we will stop you and move you so you are not interfering with other athletes.
In your lane as well as your box, if your feet come forward and your toes are on that line, they're not behind, it doesn't count. You have to do 100 double unders in each box.
Dahl, Eater, Scholl, and Galen are in the lead. Mckenzie Riley, she's in the middle of your screen in the all black. She's got some white tape on her wrists. She's up there too. Emily Bridgers moved up as well. Here are your top 3. Whitney Galen on the bottom left. And then in the upper right, it's Lindsay Eater and Melissa Dahl.
And look at the bottom screen in the red tank top, Whitney Galen. Okay, we know she's got skills, but the way she's jumping, her heart rate is shooting through the roof, and that's not what you want to have when you're going to go on that runner. These should be relaxed. And watch her hands. There's so much movement of her arms. All that energy on those jumps, those hands are all over the place. She doesn't look relaxed.
She's turning sideways, isn't able to quite stay balanced. That's also a telltale sign of inefficient moving. She's so high off the ground. That's a lot of jump with her calves too. It's really blowing up the calves. So much going on. And then look at the rest time.
Look at the judge. The judge was saying you have to stay straight, so they will stop her. But the fact that she already put her hands down to her knees, that's showing fatigue. I know this feeling. I'm an okay double under person, but it's harder when you stop and stop and stop when you're messing up. It just takes so much out of you.
If you can double under well, you can actually catch your breath, take big, deep breaths, and that's what some of the other athletes, like White Pants, Melissa Dahl, she's doing that. She's staying so relaxed and composed. This is her first time to regional competition. Really excited to see her here. I actually had a chance to meet with her the first time she ever did CrossFit. She was one of my husband's phys ed students, and she's just a natural athlete.
Emily Bridgers in the middle of your screen has started to creep up, as has Mackenzie Flincham on the right in the purple top. Bridgers looking to make it to the CrossFit Games for the 5th time in her career. She was 2nd in the Atlantic Regional last year and then won it 2 times in a row between 2015 and 2016. Melissa Dahl is on to the air runner. 3 miles for her, and she'll close out her event. Here comes Sara Scholl in the white top and blue pants. And Mckenzie Riley is there in the middle of your screen. And now here comes Emily Bridgers, top of your screen in the orange top. Mackenzie Flincham also on the air runner. Lindsay Eater. adjusting her shoes a little bit. And she'll get to work on the 3-mile run. Time to beat belongs to Whitney Stevenson in the last heat, 40 minutes, 49 seconds. It's the 4th best time in the world.
But Emily Bridgers has that competitive background. She just knows how to execute when you get to competition. So even though it's similar to Ben Smith, even though they're not the first to the runner, I'm not nervous for her. I'm not worried. And an event outside, even just a little bit outside the top 10, for Emily shouldn't be a problem.
Lane 16 is Sara Beth Phillips. She's in the light green top. She's been having some problems with the double unders, and this is a woman who's been trying to get herself to the CrossFit Games for a long time. She's been in every regional competition since 2011. Last year she was 21st, but she was not 100%.
She actually had a herniated disc when she was training for the regional competition. She felt something in her back, was just going through it, lighter weight, and just felt something. Fought through it, ignored it. When she went to the regionals, she just had to get it checked out. It was a herniated L5, had surgery in June, and from what we see, she looks to be just in great shape. It's come back. So I'm really anxious to see, because I'd love to see, after that many years in the top 10, so close, to take 21st with a busted back last year. That's really impressive. It shows her athleticism and her ability to compete.
Saw that with Jason Smith last year over in the Meridian Regional. He'd been trying for so long and finally got himself to the CrossFit Games.
She just looks frustrated here.
Yeah, this is surprising to me. I really had my eye on her coming in, and surprised with double unders, but sometimes coming back from an injury can be the best thing, and other times it can be a little discouraging when you're so excited to get back out there, you're so pumped to get back on the floor, and then maybe you push a little hard.
Well, you kind of need to have that amnesia. You know, don't remember where you were. You got to know where you are currently, and then be able to be okay with that. There were a lot of breaks on those double ends, and it didn't look like she was missing them up. It looked like she was planning to break and was just exhausted when she put her hands on her knees.
Dahl and Scholl are the two women with their chest pieces out front. They will move those down the floor every quarter mile. So about every 400 meters, those chest pieces will advance closer to the finish line, and it is Melissa Dahl and Sara Scholl who are your leaders right now.
And Melissa Dahl, her background, a fantastic water polo. She was an All-American water polo player. She also holds the PIAA state record for the 200 and 400 meter freestyle. She is an overall athlete, just very capable. I'm really anxious to see what she does here with the big kids. She's here for the first time at the regional competition. Her CrossFitting career really has taken off. She's gotten so much better. She does have her weaknesses though, so I'm not sure how she'll do tomorrow with the gymnastics portion, but I'm really excited to see her continue to stay out ahead and stay right there with Sara Scholl.
Sara Scholl last year won the run, swim, run event for the Masters women in the 35 to 39-year-old category. Also an All-American middle distance runner at Georgetown, so this event is good for her.
Running, yeah, she's got the running part down. Definitely has the running part down. And even though she won the run, swim, run, wasn't that she won it on the swim, which is what a lot of the other athletes, if you were a swimmer, you would crush people. She beat everyone on the run, both in and out.
She has that switch too. She just doesn't feel pain. Like, she can just keep going a little crazy, and that's where, if she gets ahead of herself because of that crazy switch, like, that's where she loses it. But hey, she's gonna go have at it here.
This is comfort zone
She'll
for her.
stay right there for her, and she'll be fine.
The opening event of the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Game Atlantic Regional, the Triple Three. First saw this back in 2014 at the CrossFit Games in Carson, California. And we've done a lot of comparison between that event and this event, and they are similar as far as the distance that needs to be completed, but it is a much different test when you run indoors on the air runner.
Well, I'll tell you what, I am already enjoying the fact that it's so nice and cool in here. It's humid and hot outside, so that right there alone sets these two how it was back then in 2014 versus now.
Sara Scholl and Melissa Dahl with their chest pieces out front. They are your leaders. Amanda Krenz is on the competition floor, and she is with someone who knows a whole lot about running. Amanda?
This is Severin Romanov, and you are analyzing this competition, the whole competition, through a running prism. What does that mean exactly?
Well, when we view this triplet through the prism of running, what we start to see is, for us, we view it as a 5.5 mile run at about a 6.5 minute per mile pace. So when we look at, let's start with rowing. We have the 3,000 meter row, And for us, that's approximately a 2-mile run within 10 or 12 minutes. Then we move on to the double unders. We have 300 double unders. When you think about it, it's the intensity of a 100-meter run. You take 50 steps in a 100-meter run, so we multiply that by 6. So we have approximately, the double unders are the equivalent of 600 to 800 meters all out. So that's how we look at it from a running perspective. And then obviously you put those two together and then you start running thereafter. The good thing is you had the full body warm up with the row. Then you have the elastic component that the double unders ask you to perform, and then you move on to running. And obviously everyone knows the challenges of running 3 miles.
What are some of your observations after watching these athletes do this event?
Well, so the main thing that we see is that most of the athletes have a cadence that's too slow. And so when we work with the U.S. military and CrossFit the last 10 years, what we teach them at our SME course is that we need a cadence of about 180 or above. Most of the athletes are in the 140 to 150 range, and that's simply not fast enough. We need them to have a faster cadence, and the main observation is also followed up by not running with the legs. So you'll see a lot of scissoring movements on the air runner, and what we want to see is more leading with the body. So we want to get into the runner's position. We want to fall from that position by leading with our hips and our upper body, and then we want our legs to follow. So you'll see a much more compact movement with a shorter stride, and that's ideally what we want. You'll have less fatigue, more muscle tendon elasticity, and hopefully you'll be able to hit the next events much, much better.
So what advice would you give to these CrossFit athletes as you've watched them through this event to do better at that?
Well, besides pacing and breaking up the double unders and not killing yourself on those, I would say simply pace yourself during the run and definitely get your cadence up, because while it may seem like you're running at a faster level, if you don't bend at the waist, if you simply lead with your hips, you're able to be much more compact, and that's actually more efficient, and you'll get the job done much, much faster.
Severin, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Emily Bridgers continuing to work on that 3-mile run, and Sara Scholl and Melissa Dahl. And Mckenzie Riley are your top 3. That's Kaitlin Brierley, who was on a team at the 2017 Reebok CrossFit Games with Reebok CrossFit 1.
They took 5th last year at the Games, and this is her first time down at the Atlantic Regional. She used to be up in the East. And the last time when she was up in the East in 2016 as an individual, she finished in 10th. And that's no joke up there with a lot of the competition they have on the ladies' side. So I'm not sure if everybody down here is expecting her to do as well, but I really am, especially from what she learned being on the team last year with Reebok CrossFit 1.
In lane 7, Paige Semenza, the former forward for the Ohio State University women's hockey team.
And Semenza, she was 4th of the Mid-Atlantic region this year, and she was another one that was team last year. And in 2016, though, here at the Atlantic Regional, she was 14th. So again, she's one of my top 10 athletes to watch for, that they went team, they gave it a test. The teams changed this year. They went back down to 4 athletes. So a lot of people had to make decisions. What do? Do they go individual? They join another team? But we forget sometimes how good individual athletes and competitors are on the team side, because you just don't see them. You forget about them, and then you start thinking about everybody else this year, and you forget, hey, there's some girls coming back.
Emily Bridgers is trying to stay towards the front of the pack. Again, looking for her 5th career CrossFit Games appearance, and Amanda Krenz has more on her.
Emily Bridgers, a very experienced athlete, but she has been riding a roller coaster of emotions during this season. This is her last year of competition. She's announced that she's going to be retiring. During the Open this year, she lost her grandfather, she lost her dog. So in addition to knowing this is her last year and also suffering some other painful things in her life, this has just been an emotional ride for this young lady. In event 1, she said she has an assault runner. She spends a lot of time on it, so she is very comfortable with this test. Although she is running with a broken toe. She said it's not a huge problem for her, and it's actually a bit less painful for her to be running on an air runner as opposed to outside.
Well, thanks, Amanda. I mean, look, this thing is miserable enough, and then you can throw a broken toe in there? No, thank you.
Well, it's one thing to deal with the pain, but it's also changing her stride. You can see the angle of her foot was all turned in, and if you do that repeatedly, the rest of your body has to compensate with that. So now she's going to have to deal with all that compensation going into the upcoming events.
And not just that, we know that if you run poorly on this runner, it affects you more, it taxes you more. So it's not like she can just change her speed on level ground. It's a lot more work. So the good news for her is this event is first. She can get it out of the way and then keep moving. If this is the one I would be the most nervous for.
Well, and if you talk about what Amanda was saying about how the emotional roller coaster ride, we all hear that voice in your head that tells you just slow down, this is getting hard, whatever. Of all of the events, this is the one you're going to hear it the loudest because it's so long. So the second it starts feeling bad and you realize, wow, I have 2 miles left to go, then your body starts to shut down. She obviously is an experienced athlete, so I don't think that will happen as much. But the thing is, that voice is in everybody's head. Whether you're a good athlete or not, everyone has to deal with shutting that voice up.
Sara Scholl in the white top and blue shorts. She is your leader right now in this heat. 36 years old, one of the oldest competitors in the field here. Has already qualified for the CrossFit Games as a master. She was in the 35 to 39-year-old division last year and took 4th, just 1 spot off the podium. And she is looking to chase down Whitney Stevenson's time of 40 minutes, 49 seconds. Stevenson doing that in the first heat. Melissa Dahl, who's making her first appearance at the regionals, is right behind Sara Scholl. And just 2 lanes down from her, Lindsay Eder is between the 2 of them. Melissa Dahl in those gray pants and black top, the right of your screen.
And she's still hanging on there with Sara. I was nervous about her pacing getting onto the assault runner. One of my keys was start smart and finish fast. She is pushing. You're seeing a little more signs of fatigue from her. Really watching that screen that tells me she's probably paying attention to something. I'd love to see her just looking straight ahead and ignoring some of the pain, similar to what Sara's doing, just kind of look ahead. But impressive that she's here, and I really hope that she's kind of aware of her body.
That's a face of I'm trying to hold on. I'm trying to hold on. And that's not what you want when you're trying to build, when you want to build big at the end. She's holding on, trying to ride those coattails.
Cassie Lansing-Werder over in lane 11. She's on the right of your screen. Mckenzie Riley's in the middle.
And
Cassie Lansing-Werder right there towards the front of the pack here.
She does, and I was impressed with her. Not always the best runner, and those aren't the movements that usually she does as well at. She still has more of a side-to-side torso, the arms coming out, not as efficient of a runner, but for her, I'm pleasantly surprised at her composure, the way she looked. Bill and I kind of looked at each other, we said,
she looks comfortable.
Yeah, for her, she does. She looks comfortable enough to keep moving that direction. She has some of that forward lean that I like, and I think she's okay. She's managing it. You can see she's taxed. Of course, you're going to be this far into it, but I think she's doing all right. She's choosing a good pace.
Plenty of fans here at the Palm Beach County Convention Center on day 1 of the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games Atlantic Regional. They've watched the teams throw down in 2 events, and now the individuals turn to take the competition floor. They will have one more event after this, and that one's all about the barbells. But they still have about 20 minutes to go in this thing.
You saw Cassidy, she's like kind of dealing with a little side stitch. You saw her swing her arm around a little bit, and I think that's from that side back and forth movement. It's not a tight controlled movement, so she's kind of all over the place, and that's where you start getting all these weird tight shoulders, tight side, that type of thing. Look at some of the other athletes that are very solid when they're running, like Mckenzie Riley right next to her. Oh, and she came off. So again, I think that was probably from that stitch. She's got to really clean up that run. If you look right to the left side of her, Mckenzie Riley right in that black tank top, Mckenzie's moving very smooth.
Take one more look at it. Cassie Lansing-Werder decides to take a quick break.
And if your hands go on that runner, you have to step back. You can't keep moving while you're touching the side rails.
Incidental contact is okay, but you cannot use those rails to support yourself.
Well, look at the way she's breathing, too. So, I mean, the fact that she's having to take those, she's trying to slow everything down because she's gotten ahead of herself. And again, I don't think it's a level of capacity that she doesn't have. I think it's the fact that she's just running and moving all over the place. There's a lot of wasted energy there.
Yeah, for McWhorter and a lot of these athletes who we would expect to see in contention at the end of the weekend, if they're in the top half of this event, they are just fine.
Yeah, she doesn't need to break herself, but she needs to be up there. This was not an event that I would have picked, and I don't think you would have picked Tanya for her to win. But she's got to be up in the pack. No one wants to dig themselves out of a hole like we've seen a lot of athletes do. But that's a long haul.
Well, especially coming back in, you're coming in first place out of the World Wide Open. Eyeballs are on you.
And if you have won this event in the past, it is not an indication of success. 9 of the 12 people who have won event number 1 coming into this weekend failed to qualify for the CrossFit Games.
Well, and that's it. But that's part of the strategy of what events do you put first, what events do you put last in this whole weekend of the regional competition. And so some of it is to shake up the leaderboard. I think Dave Castro programs that on purpose to say, oh, look at your big names. They're not there. What's happening? People get all freaked out. But you know what? It is a long competition, and this event has shown that it is one of the outliers, that some of your athletes that are just those freak endurance athletes, and they can just keep going for days. They can do really well here, and your top CrossFit athletes don't have to be there.
Mckenzie Riley's in lane 10, and she is staying towards the front here, looking to get back to the CrossFit Games as an individual for the second time, and Amanda Krenz has more on her.
Mckenzie Riley said before this event she is not afraid of endurance. She said she has a good aerobic foundation from her days of being a competitive swimmer. She said the toughest part of this event for her is the mental challenge of being on this air assault runner right now. She said what she has challenged herself to do is simply focus on her breathing, how her body is moving, and she said the key to this is for her to keep her focus on her lane only.
Thanks, Amanda. And that is certainly something we haven't talked about, is just the mental component of this. You're not going anywhere. You're standing still where you're running, but you're in the same spot, for 20-plus minutes.
And, they should give these guys, like, VR goggles or something. At least give them something to, like, streets going by, trees going by.
They were told they can't have any electronics, no music, not have anything out there.
But if you look at the way she was running, talking about her body position, her breathing, that's exactly what we saw. That compared to Cassidy right next to it, she's so clean. Look at the arms are just moving side to side or straight ahead. Head barely moves. You don't see any wasted head movement.
And
Mckenzie looks great.
Watch their arms. Her elbow comes straight back, and really everything is that forward momentum. So that fall forward really is what you're looking for.
Sara Scholl continues to lead this heat. Time to beat Whitney Stevenson, 40 minutes, 49 seconds, and that's going to be a tough mark to chase down. As right now, it is the 4th fastest time in the world. There's Sara Scholl. Middle of your screen, the white top with the blue print on it. The event record was set earlier this morning in the Meridian Regional in Madrid, Spain by Jess Towell, who won that event, obviously, but then went and finished 35th in event number 2. Sara Scholl has never won an event in her regional career. Her best finish was 3rd in event 6 last year. She's finished in the top 10 just 7 times out of 37 events. Meanwhile, Sarah Beth Phillips is at the other end of the spectrum. She's another athlete who's been to the regionals now 8 times, and she struggled on the double unders and has yet to make up that ground.
I was so anxious to see what she was going to do coming off that surgery, being strong, and I'm just so sad for her the way this is starting out. I'm hoping she can shake this off and kind of put this one behind her, but yeah, she really is struggling.
Well, look at her face. You can just tell that there is some definite internal struggle here, and I don't see her. It doesn't look like she's limping. It doesn't look like anything hurts, at least that we can tell from here. But she's battling something. She's definitely battling something.
The only thing that these women have to look at is their own monitors, really, to keep them interested. That's a look at Sara Scholl's, your leader. What can we tell from that, if anything?
Well, it's really sweaty, Sean. It's really sweaty.
It's telling you what her pace is, and I believe that's an 8:29 lower right. Hard to tell exactly what that is, but it tells you the pace that she is running her mile time.
And then also that distance, the second bar down just off to the left, the distance is counting down. So if you saw a 2 there, that means she's got 2 miles left. But that really is the only thing you have to see. So maybe this is where, if you have your fans, put them out in front of you. Maybe carry some pictures. You have some nice things to look at there, because other than that, it's just a little digital display.
Yeah, hold up a TV, you can binge watch something,
watch
catch
yourself,
up on your
maybe.
shows. Yeah,
Totally.
Sara Scholl continues to lead. Melissa Dahl was in 2nd, and then Mckenzie Riley was in 3rd. Now 5 minutes to go before we hit the time to beat of 40 minutes, 49 seconds. Belongs to Whitney Stevenson. It's Melissa Dahl trying to chase down Sara Scholl for the lead in this heat.
We already said that was a really impressive time of 40.49 from Stevenson in the first heat. And so these ladies in the second heat had that number to go off of. And so I'm sure for a lot of them, it puts a number in their head because they practiced this. They had 3 weeks to test. So when you hear that, oh, that's kind of where I'm shooting, I'm sure that kind of lit a little fire for some of them to say, oh, maybe I do have to pick it up just a little bit here.
The worst thing I could possibly think of is to have 3 weeks to know that I have to do this and then test that out a handful of times, a couple times. I wouldn't want to. Me personally, I don't want to run that much.
One of the worst things as a competitor is waiting to compete. It's waiting to actually execute your plan and just go out and do it. So for the athletes, I always think the third week athletes, I feel bad for them because of all that time. Like,
well, all they're thinking of is 6 events. They're thinking of 6 events, and that's it for 3 weeks of time, and that's all you can have your head wrapped around. That's it.
You don't want to overtrain them and become tired. You don't want to undertrain them and not be prepared. You don't want to overtest this and this strategy. You can very easily wig out on knowing events too early if you're not careful.
If you've been a competitor, if you were still in this game here, would you rather go week 1 or week 3?
Week 1.
Oh man, week 1.
Week 1.
Week 1.
That's it.
In and out, one and done.
Absolutely.
Get through that already.
Well, it's just like anything else in CrossFit because you have a number, you think you're good, you're like, oh, well, shoot. Now, all the other people went faster, I guess I can. Like,
I need to change my
yeah,
plan. Should I change my plan? And then all of a sudden, that's the other thing, is that with all that time, you start to change your strategy or your plan based on what you're seeing everyone else do. And I think that's a mistake for a lot of athletes, but it's kind of hard it's kind of hard to ignore all that.
Well, that's why I feel like the third week athletes, the ones that are on the top, are not just physically am I impressed with them, but also mentally, just to be able to get through that, because that is such a huge side of competition. There's so many great athletes out there that can physically do all of it, but they cannot really execute on game day when it matters.
Sara Scholl has started to open up a little bit of a lead on Melissa Dahl and Mckenzie Riley. Mckenzie Riley in the middle of your screen, that is Melissa Dahl, who is hanging with Scholl for the start of this run, but Scholl has started to pull away. Past the 38-minute mark. Time to beat in the upper left-hand part of your screen belongs to Whitney Stevenson. Scholl looking for her first career regional event win. Scholl by herself out front. Melissa Dahl and Mckenzie Riley are now fighting for second in this heat. Melissa Dahl is on the right of your screen in the gray pants.
Melissa Dahl, her form as well with those arms, similar to Cassidy Lance McWhorter, the arms are kind of moving. It's more like that soccer run. You know, they're not efficient runners. But Sara Scholl, she's much more efficient, and it's paying off for her over the 3 miles. Her arms, not a lot of arm swing, not a lot of wasted movement, just keeping all the momentum going forward, going into the runner.
Well, efficiency in this particular segment is huge, just like it is on all the other events. But it's so long, so if you're efficient, as Sara is, you're going to crush, and she's hammering it.
Sara Scholl is putting the finishing touches on this 3-mile run. Just 400 meters to go. We'll keep an eye on her judge's hand.
She almost looks more composed and smooth here than she did when she first got on the runner. It was like she could just get through the run and the double under so she could get to this part here and just kind of get the first little bit underway so she could settle into this just pain fest.
Man, light at the end of the tunnel though, so I'm sure she's excited about that. I'd be excited.
1 minute to go before we hit Whitney Stevenson's top time. Sara Scholl is trying to track that down. And there's the hand.
Here we go.
Few meters to go.
30 seconds before we hit the time to beat. Sara Scholl trying to reel in Whitney Stevenson and win her first career regionals event in her 8th regional appearance.
And as the other athletes are going to see her finish up, that's just going to light a little bit, give the other athletes a little adrenaline, a little push that, okay, now it's starting time. Now we need to do those foot races. It's going to start.
Whitney Stevenson is going to win the event, but Sara Scholl is going to take this heat as she is off at the 40-49 mark, and Sara Scholl is across the finish line and wins Heat 2.
Wow.
Close to Stevenson's time. What I would have loved to see is those two side by side on that
would
one.
have been great. 57.39 seconds will be good for the top mark in this heat. So now the battle is between Mckenzie Riley, middle of your screen, in lane number 10, and Melissa Dahl. Dahl now in the bottom left-hand portion of your screen. She was towards the top with Sara Scholl, but then fell off that pace, and Mckenzie Riley was able to catch her, and now Mckenzie Riley is starting to stomp the gas.
Look at that. Look at that tempo of her feet.
Mckenzie Riley was not on the runner first. It was Missy Dahl was there. She had to have that time makeup because as she's gone on now in this event, she just can't keep up with that tempo and that speed. But man, Mckenzie Riley does not look like she just ran the same race, that she put that many miles behind her. She looks good.
And Riley is in the lead as her judge's hand is in the air first. Melissa Dahl's judge has yet to put a hand in the air, and that means that Mckenzie Riley looks like she's going to take second place in this heat, and now Melissa Dahl's judge's hand is in the air.
And that's a great first event for Melissa Dahl. To be with these athletes with so many years of experience at the regional, at the games level, very impressive.
This would be a fantastic start for Mckenzie Riley. She is done, and Mckenzie Riley is going to take second place in this heat as she comes in at 42:36.40 seconds. Melissa Dahl now trying to lock up third place in this heat. And she is done. And now a hand in the air for Lindsay Eder, who sits in fourth place in this heat.
And she gets in, she gets in. She looks banged up, but she got there to the mat.
Just get across, it doesn't matter how. Just get over the finish line. Here's Lindsay Eder with her judge's hand in the air, and now Whitney Galin's judge has his hand in the air, so she is almost done. Whitney Galin, middle of your screen in the red top.
Galin was another athlete that was first to that runner. So she didn't give up too many spots, which I'm impressed for her.
And now we have a handful of judges with their hands in the air. Megan Root, she was next to Galin. Cassie Lansing-Order, middle of your screen. Next to her is Alana Fisk, and here comes Lindsay Eder. Now Galin. She will sprint across the finish line uncontested. And Whitney Galin will take fifth place in the heat. 49 minutes is the time cap. Cassidy Lance McWhorter is done. Sixth place in the heat. And she is in a race with Megan Root. McWhorter wins that. Paige Semenza comes across the finish line. And Alana Fisk is in. That's Mackenzie Flincham, who was on the runner. Carolyn Dardini is in.
This event to open up regional competition, this day, they still have another event to go this afternoon. I love that we're just starting off day one with just such a bang, with so much volume, with so much intensity that they're going to feel today. They're going to feel this event. They're going to feel the next one tomorrow, the effects of it.
And we've heard that so often through the last couple weeks is this first event, it's hard to recover from that. So there's a lot of different recovery just competitively that these athletes are going to have to do going into the next event and the following upcoming days.
Emily Bridgers had her judge's hand in the air. Lane 18, Laura Gonzalez-Marin is in. Colson Lamb, Casey finishes, and now here comes Emily Bridgers with that broken toe. And she is across. So she'll have some work to do here in the next event. But there are still 5 events remaining. And look, CrossFit has a history of, in these competitions, and Dave Castro loves to just mess people up early and then throw the remainder of the test at you.
Well, that's it. He heard a couple times, I'm sure that we've heard it through the years, that, oh, regional competition, I wasn't really that tired. Like, it really wasn't that much. I could have done more work. So all day.
That wasn't me that ever said that.
No, not me either. But that's all he has to hear from some of the top level athletes and say, all right, it wasn't enough. Let me give you a little more.
Well, and I love that there's a test within a test like that. It's like, okay, the unmarked test is how do you handle the volume of whatever it is that you're dealing with and still be able to, you can't game one event into the other one. You got to go on all of them. The way it's set up and the way the programming is done this particular year, that last day there's massive swings just based on how it's set up. I think it's beautiful.
Allison Scudds, Kaitlin Brierley, and now Shelby Neal are across the finish line. Neal in her first ever regionals appearance as an individual.
And at this point, many of the other athletes in Heat 1 have already finished, and so these ladies have to know that there are a lot of other finishers, and so they just need every point they can get here to try to wrap up.
Just because you're 17th in your heat doesn't mean you're going to be 17th in the event. Less than 2 minutes remaining now before we hit the 40-minute time cap, and there are 3 women who are still on the competition floor. Sara Beth Phillips is one of them. She's in the green top. Danny Spiegel's next to her in the white. And then in lane 20, Nicole Corey. She is in the purple top.
It can feel like an eternity when other athletes have finished and you're still on there. So when they're kind of drying up, wiping up their sweat, it's nice to come back and encourage, but it's hard to see people smile and recover when you're still in that much pain.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I know that that's a CrossFit thing. You know, root everybody on, the last person to get the loudest cheer. However, there are times, especially in a competitive setting, when you're the last one, you really just want everyone to go away and let me finish.
Yeah, just let me go.
Can we forget this one? Just, you guys, go away. I appreciate it, but just go away for a while.
Danny Spiegel comes across the finish line, and that leaves 2 women left on the floor, Sara Beth Phillips and Nicole Corey. And we have now 30 seconds to go before we hit that 49-minute time cap. And neither judge's hand is in the air. Sara Beth Phillips at least keeping a smile on her face as she's trying to
raised her hands. I got nervous. Stay on the runner.
Just keep running. Just keep running. Not going to finish, but at least she's doing it with a smile on her face. And for the final time, we are done with event number 1. Your heat winner is Sara Scholl, who will finish in second, her best career finish at a regionals event. But the event win goes to Whitney Stevenson with a time of 40 minutes, 49 seconds. Jamie Byerly and Mckenzie Riley rounding out the top 4. Melissa Dahl, who had a solid event there in the second heat, will take 5th place.
Well, the event was all about go your pace on all of the 3 movements. Missy Dahl did just that the first time around at Doylestown, Pennsylvania, CrossFit Summa. She got a little tripped up here when Eder came over to the rope and also got tripped up. She actually dropped her rope a little bit later on, shook those little mistakes off. She was actually the first one to get to the runner. She wasn't able to hold the pace on the runner because Sara Scholl came from the back because Sara was doing the exact same thing. She went her own speed, did what she needed to on the rower because she knew it was all about this assault runner when she got to it. That she was composed all the way through the 3 miles and took that heat.
Sara Scholl is with Amanda Krenz.
Sara, you had the long row followed by those 300 double unders. How were you feeling when you first hopped on that treadmill?
I think I went a little faster than I wanted to start. So I knew if I got to the run even a little bit behind, I thought I could catch up and then pick it up because running is my strength. So I got on the run, and I was a little more tired than I thought I would be, but I still was able to perform.
Was there any point in that event when you're on the air runner where you start to feel that fatigue really set in, and how do you conquer that?
Absolutely. My background is in running. I was actually an All-American at Georgetown in track and field, so I'm used to that feeling. I did it for 8 years, and I just have a lot of mental tricks that I use to get through that.
Thanks, Sara.
Yeah, thank you.
Sara Scholl locking up 94 points here after event number 1. Whitney Stevenson gets the event win for the women, and Cassidy Lance McWhirter and company looking to hang tight as we head to the second event. Linda coming up next. No more running. Let's bring out some barbells.